Alright, we are going to be looking at Counter Logic Gaming versus Immortals. This was 2 weeks ago. This is patch 7.14. Let's go ahead and get Epic Pen out. And let's start looking at these bans. No, I do not want an update. And I do not want volume. This will be my first time watching this game. As we see in bans, we see the Zac ban, that's 100% standard. Don't need to talk about that. We see an Elise ban, that's 100% standard. And the Thresh ban comes out. Thresh is getting more and more popular due to the amount of utility that he has as a champion. And he's becoming a really contested force as this meta starts to shift towards something more normal, where you're starting to see 2 to 3 tanks and 2 carries. At least I would call that normal. We follow up with a Maokai ban, completely standard, and then a Galio ban, completely standard. These are all huge power picks. Another Caitlyn ban, completely standard. Caitlyn just wins lane by herself, so removing from the game is nice. And the first pick, Cho'Gath. Cho'Gath being on patch 7.14, one of the absolute strongest champions in the game. We do not know if this is a top lane Cho'Gath. We do not know if it is a jungle Cho'Gath. Although on patch 7.14, when Cho'Gath's E still had 4% base and plus 0.5% per feast stack, his jungle clear was a lot nicer. And Cho'Gath in the jungle is very special because of the amount of damage that he can put onto neutral objectives, including Baron, Dragon, and Rift Herald, and how that is also incentive for him because it gives him even more damage on this E, which is such a busted ability at this point. So 1,000 true damage plus 0.6 bonus AP, bonus AP, well, it's 0.6 AP, but it's also 0.6 bonus HP. And the jungle Cho'Gath is really nice with that because since his ultimate gives him more health, the jungle item also gives him more health from the percentage bonus. So I see this as a likely, very likely jungle Cho'Gath, and absolutely no one can outsmite that in the game. Let's see. An early Jhin pick. I don't like that. I don't like this at all. Jhin is not very good against tanks that stack up. So generally, when you see Jhin, if you go ahead and you pick 3 tanks, and Jhin isn't fed in the early game, which can happen, but highly unlikely at this level of play. Jhin is not necessarily that useful. So when I see this Jhin early pick, I'm thinking they're going to use the Jhin ultimate to contest major objectives due to the Cho'Gath. They're going to try and force fights, and they're going to try and make sure that the Cho'Gath isn't able to contest these objectives by keeping him out of the game. And they respond even further with a Jarvan. We don't know if this is going to be Jarvan jungle or Jarvan top either. But if it is in the jungle, then maybe he's going to have a little bit power early, maybe get some counter jungling in, and maybe because of the burst damage that he's allowed to offer and from far engage, it's actually really nice with the Jhin ultimate. So you have Curtain Call, and you have Jarvan jumping in with Cataclysm. And the only things that I would see to add on top of this are you have something like Corki mid. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to my pen here to make this a little bit easier. Corki mid, Rumble, things that are going to complement this Jhin, because if you're gonna pick Jhin really early in the draft, you have to have a plan, as he's very easily dealt with. So a Corki would be able to use the package through this zone as well and provide further danger for whoever's in this zone. The Rumble would be able to do the same thing as Rumble's ult and Corki's package are basically the same thing. Rumble's just does more damage. Rumble also provides lots of AoE and lots of force in the fight. So with this Jhin composition, I'm thinking a lot of damage. They're going to draft a lot of damage. CLG responds with the Tristana. The Tristana is going to have pressure in that early laning phase, and in like our previous VOD review, we talk about how this Tristana can push the tower extremely quickly, and what that does is it forces the end of laning phase really quickly. And since Tristana is highly mobile, forcing the end of laning phase is really nice. And they're actually complementing that same exact idea with the Talia. Counter Logic currently has this setup where if these are your 3 lanes, and you have Talia here, and you have Tristana down here, maybe I'll get a different color. Talia, Tristana. Tristana's going to be pushing on this first blood turret. Because it's highly likely that the CLG is going to draft an aggressive support or Alistar or someone who can dive. That way Talia can actually come and dive anybody if they are if they're not smart enough to back off of the turret before Talia gets her level 6 roam in. So Alistar would be really good. Thresh is not on the table. Rakan would be really good. Elise is also not on the table. If Cho'Gath is going to be going in the top lane, then Lee Sin would also be another option. But that would be a strategic decision by Counter Logic Gaming for other reasons as well, because of what other things these champions can offer. So let's try not to read into it too much until they finish their draft. But I definitely see ending laning phase as fast as possible. We see the Corki hover. I already mentioned this. This is just trying to complement the Jhin ultimate, trying to complement the team comp. This not surprising. And it's also not that bad in Talia. Whereas Talia can have some really oppressive matchups. It's a little weird. Polbutter's hovering Ignite here. I don't know if that's serious. I would not expect that. So we have the Gnar ban, we have the Rumble ban. We have the Rumble ban because of what I've talked about earlier. The Rumble is just really good with Jhin. It's really good with the flank. It's really good with the TP. Everything is perfect about Rumble in this team composition. Let's see. They ban Blitzcrank. They ban Blitzcrank purely so that Jhin doesn't get cheesed. This is just, I mean, that would just be annoying. And then the Gnar ban. The Gnar ban throws me off a little bit because I'm not sure what Immortals are going to play in the top lane. Whatever they pick for Flame probably does not do so well into Gnar. They pick a support Karma. That's fine. That just helps the rush comp. It helps the drive and engage. It helps the Corki follow up. Just the ult E is really what you're buying when you pick Karma. And Counter Logic actually opt for the Soraka and the Rengar. Alright, so this is actually really interesting. This is something that I tried to run with my team earlier in the split, actually, on this patch. So they have the Tristana, and they have Cho'Gath in the top lane. So now Cho'Gath is going to be really oppressive in the top lane, and because Gnar is banned, and because Immortals ban Gnar, there's not that many choices on who to send top lane that will actually be able to beat this Cho'Gath. And Maokai's not on the table either, so you're really looking at general super tanks being the only option to put in that lane, unless you're going to put a carry in that lane, and putting a carry in that lane is really difficult because it has to be someone who can maneuver around Cho'Gath's silence. But on the lane by lane basis, if we have Trist, Soraka, this lane is going to be really oppressive because they're always going to have health. They may not always have mana, but they're always going to be pushing, and they're always going to be pushing into the enemy tower, and they're going to be chipping down this enemy tower as fast as possible. And what that's going to do is it's going to put a lot of pressure on Immortals. It's going to tell Immortals, like, hey, if you don't do something about this, you're just gonna give up First Blood Tower for free. And what even pressures that further is the fact that Talia can ult down onto this turret. And now that they have the Rengar, they have an assassin so that they can jump in this turret as well. So I was thinking Lee Sin for a similar reason as to pick Rengar, but the Rengar pick is really interesting because it's going to offer a lot more snowball potential. So Counterlogic Gaming is looking to end laning phase as fast as possible. What the fuck am I writing? What the fuck? End laning phase. ASAP. And if they end laning phase as fast as possible, the Cho'Gath's going to be annoying, the Tristana and the Talia are going to be extremely annoying, and they're going to roam around with this Rengar, and they're going to get lots of picks in the mid game. Which means they're going to have a lot more pressure on these neutral objectives because they're already winning. Let's figure out what Immortals' last response is, and their response to top lane Cho'Gath. Hovering the Shen. The Shen was... okay, Shen's locked in. Okay, Shen's actually decent against Cho'Gath. Shen's not going to be pushed in as hard. Shen's not going to be abused as hard early. However, Shen will still lose the lane when Cho'Gath hits level 6. So they do have some priority in top lane. But as for mid lane and bot lane, here's how it goes. If we put it on a chart, and... That's not how I want to set this up. Top lane. Top lane, CLG wins. After 6. That's after level 6. Only after level 6. In mid, CLG wins. Corki can duel Talia at some point, but it's going to be after Triforce. It's not going to be before. And you're talking about the mid game in which laning phase is going to be over, and therefore it's obsolete. So mid lane, Counterlogic Gaming also wins. And in the bot lane, Counterlogic Gaming does not necessarily win the bot lane. It seems to be an even matchup, because Karma's going to have a lot of poke in the early game. She's going to be really annoying. Jhin has a lot of damage, but CLG's win condition on that point is trying to push as fast as possible, not take the poke, and sustain with the Soraka. So when my first thoughts about the draft are that CLG has a big advantage. Now, if the game passes the 20-minute mark, and there's not more than a 2,000 gold lead, so we are talking about less than 2,000. So less than 2,000. Immortals starts to scale more. The Tristana starts to be really annoying, but the Immortals have a mid game, because we're not going to talk about late game. Late game is completely different, and it may not reach there due to the high amounts of aggression that I can sense from the Jarvan, the Cho'Gath, Tristana, and the Talia, and the Rengar. It'll be an exciting game, I'm sure. But as for the mid game, they want to rush the mid game because this is a mid game siege comp. It's a mid game siege composition. They have the siege with Karma. Karma is good at sieging. Corki is the pinnacle of mid lane for sieging turrets. Because he buys the Trinity Force, so he's really good at pushing the turrets down. His wave clear is not too bad at that stage of the game, and his ultimate allows him to constantly barrage the enemy. And then they have the J4 for diving, and then they have the Jhin ult for follow-up in a dive. And J4 actually can dive in and get Shen ulti. So if there's less than a 2,000 gold lead coming from Color Logic Gaming, Immortals have a lot of power in this game. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Lots of talking. Nobody wants that. Nobody cares. Is there a pause? Technical delay. Solid. Okay, we're on the board. Anything interesting to note? No, everything's standard. Except for this. Doran's shield is really popular on Cho'Gath in the top lane. But if in my opinion, corrupting potion on Cho'Gath allows him for an easier laning phase, an easier pathing to get to level 6, and so much sustain in lane that it's oppressive. Because Cho'Gath doesn't necessarily have a lot of damage, but he has sustain. And giving him even more sustain allows him to out-sustain almost any champion, even if they have Doran's shield. Just due to the corrupting potion, 3 procs, you get 450 health, and his passive is going to be giving him 40 health a minion or so. It becomes so abusive, and it actually allows Cho'Gath to continue using his spells, as it's the only source of mana. Because in the early game, Cho'Gath does not have that good mana scaling. His abilities cost a lot. Anyway, so as for anything we're going to see in top lane, there's going to be a small discrepancy in top lane. Shen's going to have a little bit more than Cho'Gath as in terms of CS. Talia is going to have a little bit more than Corki. That's just going to be standard. And as for the bot lane, I'm not really sure. And we see a level 2 gank coming out. This is really interesting. So I was too focused on something else. So hold on. Rengar starts race and pass to red buff. Jarvan starts red buff, paths around, and ganks mid lane level 2. Now this is actually really smart because Jarvan doesn't need level 3 to gank. And Talia is going to push the lane naturally. That's something she likes to do. So they force in on Talia. Talia burns Ghost. That was a poor flash by Xmithy. What he was trying to do there is, if you flash at the end of Jarvan's E onto someone, it will knock them up but not do the damage. That's what he was trying to do there, but he should have done it reactively. Because when he tried to do it proactively there, he actually managed to do it after Huhi flashed. So Huhi manages to get away. Huhi does lose both his summoners in exchange for Xmithy's summoner, which Xmithy didn't have to flash. This would have been a perfectly 100% positive trade for Immortals had Xmithy saw Huhi flash and then chose not to flash himself. But that it was obviously a quarter of a second. It was very, very difficult to tell. Dardock's also confused as to what the hell just happened. And Xmithy paths right back into his Wraiths. So Xmithy's pathing is going to be really weird now. I mean, he's going to go Wraiths, he's probably going to go to blue, and then Gromp, and then, let's see, Wraiths, blue, Gromp, Wolves, Golems. One disadvantage of him starting red is the fact that his red buff will be running out more quickly in the game. Therefore, he was able to use it for the mid lane gank, but he probably won't end up ganking any other lane with it. If he was smart, I mean, he'd probably path to blue, to wolves, to wraiths, to top, and he might still have red buff. He would skip Gromp, and he would skip golems, but he might still have red buff for a top gank, because now I'm not saying ganking Shen is a good idea, because ganking Shen is almost worthless. Ganking Shen is telling yourself that I want the kill. If you're gonna gank top lane, you gotta it's better for Jarvan to get the gold, because Shen doesn't need it. Shen just needs levels. Shen just needs levels to get to level 6, and Shen just needs to not die. Shen's not looking to kill Darshan. Shen's not looking to build damage. He may build Titanic Hydra, but he's never going to be dueling Darshan post level 6, unless he is so massively ahead for some ungodly reason, but that shouldn't happen. So he's not going to have his red buff for any more ganks, but we do see Dardoch moving up in the top lane. Darshan moves in aggressively. Flame does not notice. Flame misses his taunt and flashes out. So now Flame has no flash. So this is really nice for Cho'Gath, because Cho'Gath's only problem in the Cho versus Shen lane is the fact that Shen duels him out really early, but now that he has flash, he can farm safely, and he can actually push Shen off of farm. So the farm discrepancy that I was talking about, where Shen would actually be ahead, has just been nullified. And for the next 5 minutes, Cho'Gath is going to be developing a CS lead onto Shen, unless that is changed by Xmithy. Yeah, if you look at this, I don't think anybody's looking at that. But if you look at this, it does tell me that if he pathed to blue, to wolves, and then to wraiths, which may not have been efficient, it may not be your most efficient jungle path, but it would leave you with red buff for moving top lane into this push Cho'Gath. It's an option. It's an option that they have. Anyway, as for bottom lane, nothing's really happening in the early levels. From levels 1 to 4, this bot lane is just absolutely nothing. Nothing's gonna happen. Anyway, Rengar making it to his blue at 3 minutes and 50 seconds. He's taking a really slow clear. Actually, no, sorry, I made a mistake there. He ganked top lane and then goes to blue, and then he's using the blue for the cooldown reduction so that he can farm quicker. I think he's actually trying to power farm his way to level 6. He was just going the early levels with the red buff, wanted to use his red buff for a gank, successfully used his red buff for a gank, got flash off Flame, and now he's going to be power farming until 6, where he can converge in the bottom lane. Aggression from Ole and Cody. Not surprising, as Soraka can't really do anything about that. These two are just going to poke as much as they can. But this lane changes completely. Once Tristana has Tristana has BF sword, that's when they have so much pressure on the turret, because her E is gonna do a quarter of her turret's health at all. It's disgusting. So we see Xmithy coming in for the lane gank into the top lane to try and return the fact that Shen lost his flash earlier. And there seems to be, I have an issue with, I don't know what Darshan was doing, but it's 5 minutes, and he wasn't missing early CS, but he's now behind a decent amount of CS. Like, there's a couple minions up here for the CS, but I don't know if that's all of them. I don't know what he was missing. Hold on, I want to see this. I want to count the minions. See, this wave is coming in. I wish I could see it. I can't see it on this video, but the wave is coming in. Because if anybody doesn't know, at 5 minutes, there is exactly 38 CS that you can get. Assuming you farmed every CS in your lane. That's 667, 667, 130, 3 minutes, 6, 7. It's 7 waves. So it's 667, 667, 6. So it's 30... Oh wait, no, maybe I'm wrong. No, at 5 minutes another wave comes. That's this wave. Sorry, it's four 6s and 2 7s. So it's 24, 31, 38. 38 is the correct number. So this is really bad by Pillbelter, and let me talk about why this is really bad by Pillbelter. Pillbelter is choosing to go aggressive against Italia, which Talia already has the DPS on him, and I think he's doing this because he thinks that his CS will go ahead and attack Huhi and cause him to win the trade. The only problem is he is positioned in this zone. Let's actually break up the lane into a couple different zones. I like to break it up like this because I think it's the most efficient for me, because it allows me to understand when a player is playing towards their base, which is what these two zones would offer. And these two zones are when you're hiding in vision, or you're trying to stay on the other side of the square, right? This diagonal represents two different sides of the lane. There are infinite amount of diagonals, actually. Like, you can stay on this side of the lane, and that's actually who he's doing right now. So let's look at who he's positioning instead. Huhi's on this side of the lane because he has a ward here, he has a pink ward down here, and he has a pink ward behind his red buff. He knows that he is 100% safe in every way, shape, and form. The only time that Jarvan is going to be coming towards him, Jarvan's going to be coming from here, if you look on the map. It would be the banana bush, or what people used to call the banana bush. He would be coming from Wraiths, or he would be coming from somewhere over here, anywhere in that fog of war. But because he's all the way on this side of the lane, Jarvan has to travel this entire distance. And because Jarvan has to travel this entire distance, it would not be beneficial for Pillbelter to be on this side of the lane. Pillbelter would be normally on this side of the lane, and Pillbelter would normally have a ward here. But Pillbelter chooses to misposition. Pillbelter's on this side of the jungle, and Daradok in a non-warded bush is given a free choice to jump on him. So let's go ahead and see that. The hell? There we go. That was actually really pretty. Look at this. Fuck. I hate the macros with this fucking epic pen. Pillbelter Huhi knocks Pillbelter towards the jump range of Rengar, and then now Pillbelter has to flash out. Oh shit. Pillbelter took teleport. I'll talk about why Pillbelter has teleport later. Other than the fact that it can help you recover from bad things happening in your lane, or that you can use it to teleport to other lanes, there's something actually really special about how Flame and Pillbelter both have teleport, and the fact that they're using a Shen. There's something really special about this. But I'll talk about that later when it's time. Anyway, things return to standard. Huhi's not going to be pushing the lane because the lane just reset, and he's going to try and get the lane probably pushing into him. And he wants to deny Pillbelter as much CS as possible. That's a puppy. Whoa, what's Dardoch doing here? Hold on. Oh, Dardoch went to counter jungle Wraiths. This is really bad by him because he has no vision and he has no understanding. So watch this. Watch. Let's go all the way back here. So Pole Belter's backing now. It's 5:07. It's 5:07. Right? Or when's he start his back? It's 5:10. It's 5:10, but for Dardoch it's 5:07 because that's the last time that he saw Corki. So at 5:10, it's 8 seconds for a recall. And then it's about 15 seconds to get back in the lane, depending on how much movement speed you have, whether or not you have boots. It's a certain amount of time. Dardoch, let's look at his pathing. Let's see how he got into the position where he did. So he moved around mid lane so that he didn't want it to be seen. He moves into the enemy jungle. The shit thing comes up. He has a ward. I would like to note that he has a ward. Because they put up his fucking kill lane pressure shit. I don't need to know that. I need to know whether or not he has a ward. He's walking here. He has a ward. He sees that this plant is available, which I incentivize junglers to use the enemy plants. And why I incentivize junglers to use the enemy plants is so that because it's in their zone, like he's in a huge gray zone right now. This is a huge gray zone because he doesn't know where anybody is. Well, he knows bot lane is bot lane, he knows Shen's top lane, but he doesn't know where J4, and he knows that Corki's going to be back soon. Corki's going to be back very shortly, like 5 seconds max. So he doesn't use his ward here, he doesn't use his ward here, and he doesn't use his ward here. And he has the option to. And honestly, if he's going to kill the race here, because he's gonna start it, then he's gonna peel back, and he's gonna try and kill them really slowly and be as far away as possible. This is your safest place to ward, because this is the place that somebody's gonna come through if they're gonna try and cut you off from this exit. This is the exit. This is where he wants to go. This is what he needs to see if he wants to get out there before someone reaches him. Therefore, it's a mistake by him in terms of vision, because let's watch. Xsmithy comes up, goes around, places a pink ward in this bush, realizes that it's not warded. Dardoch finishes the camp, uses smite, and then gets jumped on, and then has to burn flash to get out because he sees Corki has returned back to lane. So not only was he putting himself in a high-risk situation by going into the enemy jungle and counter jungling versus Jarvan, which he did have a level on, don't get me wrong, that he is ahead of Jarvan. It's the fact that Corki can be there. It's not that Corki isn't there. It's not that Corki may be going bot lane. It's that you don't know where Corki is, and the fact that Corki could be there, and he can be dangerous, and he can kill you. And this is the reason why Dardoch loses his flash. He does, however, get the race from Xsmithy, further putting Xsmithy behind, because Xsmithy also wants to hit level 6 really badly. What the fuck was that? Okay, so... Oh, I didn't see that. He places his ward after he leaves. This is strategically correct. Even though he didn't place his ward here, this would be the safest place for him to put it before he starts Wraith. He puts it here afterwards because it gives him intel on whether or not Jarvan walks through here or Corki walks up. It gives you so much intel on all of these pathways. So that is strategically correct, and I want to talk about that ward in a second, because so Jarvan. When was the last time we saw Jarvan? Jarvan was here. We see Jarvan. We see him path downwards. I have no idea what this is. This is actually abysmal. This is I'm completely unimpressed in every way, shape, and form because I would not expect Huhi to do something this stupid. He is putting himself in danger by doing this. Like, if Corki wanted to push up the lane, Corki could jump on him here, cause Huhi doesn't have flash. Yeah. Immortals probably was not expecting Huhi to make such a weird pathing choice either. Which is probably why Pobelter didn't move up to try and capitalize on Huhi. That's probably what happened. But Xsmithy jumping on Huhi there, Huhi ever moving towards a bush that he has no vision on, that he knows the enemy jungler is at. Like, he's either searching for a fight or it's a 100% mistake. Because even taking this free damage, this puts him behind in lane. Taking that free damage after Corki just backed, Corki now has a little bit more pressure in lane because you're just lower on health. That's just a fact. Okay, what's going on here? We see Jarvan moving down the enemy jungle, getting wards. He put a ward by Wraith Camp standard, ward behind red buff standard. Karma uses the blast plant. As I was saying earlier, if you can use your enemies' plants because they're useful, you can take them away from the enemy. You might as well. But let's keep on moving here. Jarvan uses the sight plant. Karma goes to take out a pink ward. Everything's looking really quiet, but it shouldn't be quiet in about a minute because there are a lot of big things that just happened. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but Pobelter's level 6, Flame is level 6. Cho'Gath is level 6, and Huhi is level 6. And this means a lot of things. This means a lot of things. It means Pobelter is ready to start sieging. He's ready to pick up his. He's going to be picking up his package soon. He's ready to start dueling people and poking them down. Flame is ready to try and prevent any person from being caught or dived or whatever mistake that one of these four makes. He's trying to nullify it with his ultimate. Darshan now wins top lane. He now wins. That is a fact. With an item or with whatever he's buying here. What the fuck is this rejuve bead? Why? This confuses me, but let's just see what it is before I say something stupid that I probably shouldn't. But Cho'Gath now has priority in top lane, so now they now have priority in 2 lanes, and they can use those 2 lanes because Darshan still has teleport, but they do have to be wary of the Shen ult to get pressure in this bottom lane because they want to end that laning phase as fast as possible, and they want to start moving around the map and getting catches with these 3 picks. And this is just there because it's annoying. This is so annoying to deal with. So Karma's roaming around mid. Soraka's also moving around. Very interestingly, it's a weird path that Afromu just took. He just went through here. He just like walked through wards, but he probably knew that they were there too. Smithy's getting his red buff. This is his second red buff. Remember, he started red buff, which is why he's there again before Dardoch is. Dardoch gets pinged. He's seen by a strategic ward that was placed by Jarvan earlier. We noted that. which means Immortals now needs to be ready for whatever's going to happen in this bottom lane, because this is I know that I'm saying this, that Talia moves bot lane and Dardoch dives bot lane, and maybe they have a teleport too, and they really try to force this first blood turret, and they force the end of the laning phase really quickly, but that does not necessarily mean that Immortals doesn't know that that can happen. What will most likely happen is Talia roams, and it will be about 4 or 5 seconds where they forget about Talia and something goes wrong. And if they never forget about Talia, if they're always correct, then you won't see anything happen at all. I'd also like to note the interesting itemization bought by Jin here. He went about and bought Executioner's Calling really early. This screws up his build path. It screws up his build path a lot, but it's absolutely necessary in order to nullify the Soraka, at least by a decent amount. And we do see Tristana has BF Sword, so we also know that because Tristana has BF Sword, she's going to have a lot more power in this lane, and because Jin doesn't have lethality yet, he doesn't have boots, he doesn't have anything, he has no mobility, he doesn't have the damage, he's going to be... the CLG, it would be smart for CLG to force onto Jin. Dardoch takes a scheduled recall here. Pobelter gets a blue buff. If CLG is going to force something, I don't have sound on right now, so I didn't hear this, but the Quirky package was picked up, so you can outwait that. You can wait for that to be finished, because there's no diving bot lane before Shen hits level 6, because Shen's already level 6. Shen didn't even leave lane until he was level 6. So anything you do, you just have to be considering all the variables, and if you can do it while Quirky package is down, or after Quirky package has already been used, then it would be a lot easier. I would also like to mention that Pillbelter doesn't have flash, and we know that, and Dardoch doesn't have flash, and they know that. And those are the only 2 summoner spells that are down on the board, other than Flame's TP. But Flame doesn't really need TP because they have another TP on the map. That's Pobelter. So he can save top lane push after a skirmish in bot lane if Cho'Gath chooses not to teleport. After Flame ults is really what I mean. But there won't be a lot happening. It would also be interesting of Immortals. No, they can't do anything right now. You see, due to all the counter jungling that Dardoch has done, he's actually 2 levels ahead of Jarvan right now. And because of that disparity, Jarvan isn't able to put a lot of pressure in any lane. And because Jarvan's not level 6, and because... hold on, let's see if we have any intel on Jarvan. Let's pretend we're CLG, and let's see if we have any intel on Jarvan. Jarvan gives Corgi blue buff. That is all of the intel that we have on Jarvan. So with that intel, we can assume that Jarvan has probably taken one or both of his camps in the blue side jungle, which means Jarvan, after recalling, or after whatever he wants to do, heads to the top lane and in the top lane sector. And as Jarvan is in the top lane sector, he is not going to be useful on the bottom side of the map, and that's why we see Rengar pathing towards the bottom right now, because he knows that Jarvan needs to go top lane. He needs to go in this upsurge jungle, because he's not level 6 yet. He needs to get level 6 from one of these camps. He's probably only 1 camp away, but because he has to do this in the first place, it gives CLG an opportunity to focus hard on this bot lane and get that first blood turret with the Tristana, exactly as I noted before the game started. We do see Rengar changing his pathing. See, this is obviously a communication error. Rengar paths here, and then he moves up towards mid, which either means... well, actually, we see Corki moving up here, which means instead of him going bot, instead of him focusing on this Soraka that already lost all of her health. By the way, this is really bad by Aphromu. He shouldn't let this happen. I don't know what laning took place to get him here, but he obviously just got hit by Karma Ultimate. He obviously got hit by some poke from Jhin. He shouldn't be this low health if they want to do anything in the bot lane, which actually is another factor why Rengar changes his direction here. So let's go back a few seconds and look at exactly when Rengar changed direction. So Rengar changed direction before Aphromu took all that damage. This is really interesting to me because it feels as if these two don't take damage and Rengar is able to pull off a gank, even pushing Cody-san out of lane or pushing Ole out of lane is beneficial because it gets tower damage for the Tristana. And anybody who's out of lane can be heavily punished by Tristana's E and the amount of damage she can put on a turret in just one wave. But he changes his pathing right here. This is 858, which means either who he wants blue buff and who he wants it now. So either it's that, and who he doesn't want to do it himself, which he perfectly can, as anybody who plays Talia knows. You can kite the blue buff and kill it by yourself and not take almost any damage. But maybe he's playing into the fact that Jarvan's going to be top lane, and because Jarvan's top lane, he may be putting pressure onto onto Darshan, and he wants to counter gank, and because he knows he's ahead of Jarvan, he thinks that he can put Jarvan further behind. This is the kind of thought process that I believe that he is going through right now. Yeah, that all of that damage, everything we just saw was a huge mistake. Bad positioning. He even got ignited. And Stixay throws out the ult to get Cody-san off of him, and he can return back to lane because he has biscuits, as noted here. Was this not seen? No. Corki's hovering bot. Dardoch is hovering top. This seems really odd to me. Darshan just took so many turret shots. What the fuck just happened? Darshan obviously went in to get a CS, or something. Maybe he went in to hit the turret. He got taunted by Flame, which I don't know why. Maybe he thought the taunt was on cooldown, but he literally just ruined. Like, there is absolutely no reason for Darshan to be top here unless he's counter jungling. Darshan seems, not Darshan, Dardoch. It seems really odd to me that he's gonna go bot, but then bot gets fucked up. He's gonna go top, but top gets fucked up. These seem to be like odd mistakes that are happening. He's getting intel on Jarvan though. He wants to know where Jarvan is, and Jarvan's going to be returning to his bot side jungle in the next rotation. That should be obvious because Jarvan's clearing this. Since Jarvan just cleared this, and if he sees Jarvan clear these golems, which he might, I'm not sure if he sees it with that ward that I'm putting an arrow on right now, but he knows that Jarvan will be returning to the other side of the jungle. And there are a couple things you could do with this. You could force Rift Herald. And if you force Rift Herald, Immortals may return with Stone Drake, and that would be a fair trade, fair handshake. See, this is just a problem for me. Aphromoo played the lane just so badly that I'm really disappointed in the power that they could have had with this lane, and the power that they could have had with the Talia and with the Rengar, all in the bottom lane, all capitalizing on any tiny mistake that Cody or Ole make, but they then continued to play the lane extremely bad, and now they're even pushed out, and they're going to be losing a lot of turret damage. Not as much as you'd expect, because it's Jhin. Jhin isn't going to get a lot of turret damage, but anyway. So let's look at what just happened, because I'm a little confused. Okay, no, the ward was not there the whole time. Xmithy walks up, places a pink ward, sees Dardoch, jumps in, and let's talk about how Xmithy is level 7 right now. Xmithy was level 2 before he took Wraith and Golems. Not level 2, level 5. He went from 5 to 7. That is what you call catch-up XP in the jungle. Yay, catch-up XP. Anyway, so this is a standard play. Because Rengar doesn't have any mobility besides his jump, Jarvan actually can counter him pretty easily just by using his ult. And because Jarvan has his ult, Jarvan goes ahead, forces the engage, Pole Belter follows up, and Shen even comes in with the ulti because they want to share as much gold as possible. Dardoch plays it correctly by jumping on the Pole Belter, trying to get out, but he does not have flash, and that was a mistake from earlier. And Stixxay and Aphromoo are still in this bottom lane. And here's where the Talia comes in. This is so interesting to me. Okay, so this tower was almost full health when Aphromoo screwed up the lane, right? This tower was almost full health. So they continued to dance from here to here to try and get experience, putting Tristana behind CS. I mean, she's going to be behind CS if she backs, but she's going now you're putting her further behind CS because you're not letting her back. So the Talia comes to roam in, and they pick up a kill with the Talia, but now you have the Pole Belter TP coming in since Flame doesn't have TP or ult. Now that they can use that double TP advantage. And they're really trying to save this tower as much as possible. Xmithy's coming down, but Rengar's dead. This is really badly played by CLG. What amazing capitalization by Xmithy. That was a very clean play. But let's talk about how everything got this way, because if we look back, this tower was full health, right? And these two can back. They can back completely. And they may not get any items. I'm not sure of how much gold they're holding. But I can definitely say that maybe Tristana will buy boots, which is nice. Boots are really great. Maybe she'll buy a dagger. I don't know how much she's holding. I can't tell you how much she's holding. Soraka may not buy anything, but Soraka can at least buy a pink ward, since I know that you've been in lane long enough so that natural gold generation is pink ward worth. And maybe even buy a cloth armor or anything. Anything to get on redemption. Rejuve beads or mana regeneration. Anything. But staying in this lane so that this can happen. Where is it? Okay, it's a little bit low health there because they're still staying. Here's where I'm looking for. This turret has lost 2,000 health, and they haven't backed yet. They still have the same items. That's a problem. That's a mistake. That's something that should have never happened. They should have backed. They'd be back in this lane. Then Cody Sun and Ole would have to back because they'd have to spend gold that they earned. They'd have to buy the items since Jhin isn't even at his power spike yet. Jhin doesn't have lethality. Jhin doesn't have boots. Karma doesn't have boots. Everything seems wrong here for CLG. And I have no idea why they stayed here because they are asking to lose First Blood Tower by staying in this lane, and they even lost summoner spells because of it. They lost Stixay's heal, they lost Aframu's flash, and they lost both of those for Ole's flash. Like that's 2 cooldowns for 1. That's 1 heal for free. That shouldn't. These mistakes are simple. They shouldn't be happening. Anyway, and another thing. If they backed and came back to this lane, and who he came down, these 2 would be stronger, these 2 would be full health, these 2 would be more useful, they would be able to push onto this tower, they would be able to force more, they would be able to counter the fact that Corki is teleporting in, because Corki teleports in here, and they can't contest anymore because of their low health, and they'd have heal still. Stixay would have heal to match Cody Sun's heal. Everything would be different. And then this piling up under tower so that Jarvan can come. This is just bad. And this doesn't just lose First Blood Tower. This loses First Blood Tower. This loses 3 kills. Then this loses Dragon, because I can guarantee you that Immortals takes Dragon after this. I haven't seen this game, but it's free. It's free for them to do so. God, that such bad mistakes. They don't want Dragon. I guess I can't guarantee you that they take Dragon. They can force Dragon. They don't have to. Or wait, maybe I made a mistake. Oh wait, no, no, they don't have any vision. Like they're red. It's completely red here. There's no blue vision. So there's no word for teleport for Darshan to teleport to. There's no Rengar's going to be on his top side of the map, and they know that Rengar's on the top side of the map because blue buff is up. That's just happens. I think maybe the one thing they're afraid of, if they take Dragon here, that Rengar may go ahead and solo Rift Herald and Cho'Gath will come over and eat it. That is the one response that CLG has. But other than that, they have big death timers that they're sitting on. Very sad. Very sad for CLG. Outclassed in every way. And it's really disappointing for me that CLG just doesn't know how to use this draft, because this draft is actually really strong. Because Talia doesn't necessarily have to go bot. Like if bot backs and bot just wants to play safe and the lane's even, Talia also can go top. Because they can even kill Flame with Talia, with Rengar, as long as they have the Cho'Gath Feast. Because it's 400 true damage in the early game. And Flame's not going to have much more than, let's see, 200, 150. That's 350 plus level 9. At level 9, you have about 900 health. He's 1200 health. You can do 33% of his health with just your with just Cho'Gath ultimate. As long as you can get any kind of decent damage on him with Dargalk or Huhi, like they can do that to top lane as well, and they can use that for Rift Herald, or they can use that for First Blood Tower and top lane. They have so many options, but they aren't using any of them. This just seems odd. So CLG sees the rotation from Immortals into the top lane, and they go ahead burn Rengar ultimate to try and make trying to make Immortals feel afraid, because they don't want CLG pushing onto this, or not CLG. CLG does not want Immortals pushing onto the top lane turret yet, because they left Tristana bottom lane with Shen, so that Tristana could get a lot of turret damage onto the bot lane turret, so that they can try and return some of this gold lead, because right now with the gold lead being 3,500, 3,600, it's not incentive for CLG to put Tristana in the top lane to match. We see Jarvan starting Rift Herald. He's spotted by a ward. Does he know that he's been spotted? Everybody's moving over, but there's nothing to be done because Dardoch's on the bottom side of the map. So CLG actually set this up so that Immortals would go ahead and take Rift Herald, and that they're going to go and try and jump on Pole Belt, or no, they're going to go and try and jump on Flame here, and they're going to try and use that to get their own turret. And you see Talia actually moving down here, so Talia's going to help get Flame, Talia's going to help get this turret, and then Talia can help get Dragon. My only problem is that if Immortals get Rift Herald, then Immortals can use Rift Herald top lane, and if they're still taking this turret, if CLG is still taking bottom turret, then Immortals is going to use Rift Herald to push in tier 2 turret for CLG. And so CLG will end up with both of these turrets gone, and Immortals will get one turret, and they'll get Dragon. That just seems like a problem to me, because right now CLG can't really afford to lose more gold, right? You see that CLG is behind in gold by a decent amount. It's let's see, is that 19.4 to 23.1? That's a lot. And if these two towers go down, in the top lane, that's another 1,500 gold for Immortals, and then the one tower going down in bottom lane will be about 750 for CLG, which means this gold lead will increase to 4,000. Hola, ¿cómo está ahí? Bien. Okay, so yeah, this seems really bad for CLG, just from what I'm understanding. Because if CLG took control of the Rift Herald, and CLG took control of the fact that Huhi and his ultimate can make several map rotations, and then they took advantage of the fact that Stixxay, while being behind, still is going to have a lot of tower pushing pressure, then they could make the rotations in order to get back the one tower that they lost. So they'd keep all these towers, and they'd get one of these towers. And the goal is just to get one. And once you have one, as long as you have Rift Herald, you can get two. And then once they do that, they nullify the gold lead. They get 1,500 gold. They don't lose any gold unless they die for something. Which, I mean, one death for a tower. It depends. It really depends on whether or not you're losing pressure in that lane. Whether or not if you die and then they can take a tower because you're dead. There are so many options as to what could happen. But right now, I do not see good things happening for CLG. Shen backs off of bottom lane, meaning CLG wanting to jump onto Shen in the bottom lane didn't happen, but Shen is backing, so we're going to Stixxay is going to push onto the turret here. Ringers looks like he's going to cower jungle, and this is exactly what I was talking about. They spawn the Rift Herald in the top lane, and they're going to push top lane in. Cho'Gath backs off because he realizes that there's no way he's going to defend that tower in any way, shape, or form. And Immortals, while they're pushing top lane, CLG keeps Cho'Gath top. Cho'Gath has teleport. Flame teleports back to this tower. That was a mistake by him. He didn't need to use that teleport here. But CLG rotates Dardoch onto this tower so they can get the tower. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Immortals is looking for the second tower because they have the Rift Herald. They're even looking for a kill. Talia is going to go ahead and stop that. And the Jhin ultimate comes out. Lots of damage on the Hu-He, and they're going to go ahead and they're finishing off this tower because they have too much control with the Jhin ultimate. And what's even better for Immortals right now is that they did this with 3 people. Corki is sitting in mid lane with Trinity Force pushing onto tower, and Tristana is still bottom lane. So if Immortals rotates mid right now, or if anybody rotates mid, well, no. Cody Sun's out of mana. They don't have the Jhin ult. Xmithy has his ult, but he doesn't have enough mana for a full combo. He doesn't have mana for EQ, W, ult. He, not right now. So they're going to back off, and they're going to accept the fact that they actually got a decent amount of chunk on mid lane tower. Like, you can see it right here. It's about half health. So, in total, let's talk about that trade. Rift Herald, 1 tower, 2 tower, 0.5 towers, and that's all for 1 tower in the bottom lane. So I think that Immortals is really showing that they understand what they need to do to win the game. And I was talking in the draft about how Immortals has a really strong mid game, and they can really abuse this mid game with the Corki and with the Jhin and the engage from Jarvan and the tower pushing pressure because Corki Bai is in Triforce, and they're starting their mid game early with that Rift Herald play, and they really skyrocketed the gold lead because now you're seeing a 4,300 gold lead, which means CLG is at tipping point right now. If they want to win the game, they can't really make any more mistakes. Because if they make any more mistakes and that gold lead gets to about 5,000, I do not see Immortals making any mistake that would allow CLG to capitalize and win the game with. And the only time that you even see that happen is like in our previous VOD review when we looked at Dignitas and how they all died at Baron. That's a great meme, but they all died at Baron, and they didn't lose the game because they already had an 8,000 gold lead, but the 8,000 gold lead for a couple seconds turned into a 6,000 gold lead. So a 4,000 gold lead can easily turn into a 2,000 gold lead and change the game completely. I'm not really sure what happened here as I was talking, but let's figure it out. CLG makes rotations towards top lane, and Immortals groups in the mid lane. And why this is really good for Immortals is because they already half health the mid lane tower, they already have the outer bot lane tower, and they already have the outer and inner top lane tower. So the last lane for them to go to is the mid lane, and that's the easiest, most accessible, safest objective to put pressure on. So I see them taking mid lane here and then rotating into Dragon. And that's only if CLG opts to try and defend mid lane, because this first mid lane tower, if you look at how everybody's set up right now with Rengar in the enemy jungle, with Soraka in the enemy jungle, with Tristana all the way in top, and Talia hovering mid and Shogoth hovering mid, this mid lane tower is gone. Immortals can easily take it because Pobelter and Cody Sun have enough damage so that they can take it down in a couple seconds. I give it 8 seconds because it's half the health of a tower. So with that positioning, CLG should go to defend because they should be playing reactively, because it's best to play reactively when you're behind. So they should be going to defend their inner mid lane tower, because that's the one that they don't want to lose. While they can lose the outer tower, they can't really lose the inner one. But they also will need to get like some gold so that they can try and match that tower being taken. They may leave Tristana in top lane, and they may send Cho'Gath, Rengar, and Talia to try and defend the mid lane turret. But Dardoch makes a big mistake of jumping through the enemy jungle here. So Dardoch is actually pathing towards mid lane, and let's note that they have vision on everybody. They saw everybody. Dardoch willingly makes this path through the jungle. So this is a very, 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 very big mistake by Dardoch. And he should not be doing this at all. Which leads to ultimately his death. Polbelter catches him out. He has the package. There's the Shen ult. There's the flash. Olay and Xmithie are ready on the other side of the pit. There was no reason for him to even use flash. Like there was no reason to use that flash. He was dead. He was 100% dead. So now CLG can't get top lane tower. And they're gonna have Rengar doesn't really help in defending turrets, so it doesn't really mean anything in terms of mid. But Immortals is going to go ahead and push on mid anyway. And this is one of the few mistakes that may have already turned the game past tipping point, because I find it very difficult to believe that CLG has any chance in winning this game. And this is my first time watching this game, but I do not believe that CLG has any chance at this point, assuming Immortals plays correctly, or even remotely correctly in that case. Anyway, Immortals goes ahead and they take the safe decision. The safe decision was to go to Dragon first. Because Dragon is the neutral objective and Rengar was dead, it's easier to get this Dragon and get it for free and get it before mid lane turret, and because it's Stone Dragon, it's going to help you take down mid lane turret. It's just pathing. It's correct pathing to do this because Rengar died. Whereas if Rengar didn't die, maybe they'd push down mid lane and then move on to Dragon. But being able to capitalize on the neutral objective while the enemy does not have smite is a proper decision. And they're going to go ahead and take it back here. It looks like they're going to do a full recall. Corki jumps over. I don't know what he's doing over there. I don't know what they're doing. They seem like they're wasting time to me. Because Corki going bot lane here just doesn't really make sense. Like this tells me that Polbelter is so close to an item. Like he is probably like less than 500 gold from his next item. Because it tells me that he's starving for gold, which is why he went bottom lane for that CS so far out of like contested vision. Like this was even a little bit dangerous for him at one point. Maybe let's look. So you have no vision on Rengar, Talia, or Soraka. The only thing that would be telling me that it would be a safe decision for Polbelter to go into the bottom lane to eat up the CS is that blue buff was up, which means it is likely that Dardoch was handing over blue buff to Huhi, and that may have been what Polbelter assumed when he goes ahead and goes bottom lane for that tiny bit of CS. But it's very greedy. It's very greedy because CLG can't really do anything about it. If Immortals takes a full back, alright. So let's just say IMT, and we'll talk about what they need to do to win the game. So first, they take tier 1 mid, right? And then what's particularly interesting about their team comp and why they have 2 teleports is that they can run a 1-3-1. And that 1-3-1 is going to be really powerful because they're already really far ahead. So then they're going to run a 1-3-1. And you're probably going to put Shen in top. You're probably going to cut Corki bot. And you're probably going to put everybody else mid. And why this is a decent decision is because Shen isn't going to have a lot of pressure on towers, but he's very safe. So him being in the top lane and putting pressure on this inhibitor tower is a fine idea. And then this tower will be gone by the time this happens. So then you'll see 3 mid, and they're gonna have Jhin, and they're gonna have Karma. So they're safe with the Karma because they can use the Karma ult and then E to get out of any sticky situation, to disengage essentially, because they one problem of CLG's team comp is they don't exactly have a hard engage, and then they're gonna pressure the tower with those 3, and then Corki's gonna be bottom lane split pushing, and then Corki's gonna have a lot of pressure on the tower because Corki is decent wave clear, he's safe because of his W, and then he's nobody can really duel him right now. Even Cho'Gath would have a hard time dueling him just because Cho'Gath has no stats. Cho'Gath has only stacks from minions. Cho'Gath has no AP. And Cho'Gath doesn't really have a lot of defensive stats yet. It looks like Cho'Gath just has Tabby and a Null Magic Mantle, whereas Corki can do a lot of damage. And he's not going to be able to stay in lane against Corki because Corki is ranged, and that's just a general dynamic in the ranged versus melee matchups, where if the melee can't all in, so if Cho'Gath can't all in, he will eventually lose the tower. Because he can't force Corki off the tower, he's going to constantly get poked down, and then eventually he's going to get poked down to the point where he either has to leave lane, or he has to call for someone else to help him. And if they send someone else bottom lane to help him, then the 3 people in the mid lane are going to be pushing on the mid lane inner tower. And if the 3 people in the mid lane are pushing on the mid lane inner tower versus 2 people, maybe they can dive that, because they're going to be doing that with Jarvan. Or they're going to send the person who's top lane bottom lane to help out Cho'Gath, and then the Shen is going to get free damage on the top lane inhibitor tower. And this just seems like an overwhelmingly strong and powerful play by Immortals, and it's also really strong because even when Shen doesn't have ultimate, they have double teleport. So if a bunch of people go bottom lane, maybe they don't kill Corki, maybe they do kill Corki. If they're all bottom lane, they can make a Baron call. Actually, no, that's a bad idea. They need Corki to do Baron. Yeah, this is a no. Immortals has a non-Baron team. Sorry, I made that mistake. It's a non-Baron team, and what that really means is that they can't Baron safely because they are a low damage, or no, not low damage, low DPS team comp. So they actually need Corki to do Baron. But if they send a bunch of people bottom lane and Corki doesn't die, Corki can teleport to Baron. And that would be that would be exactly the same if they have a bunch of people bottom lane. Now, because of the low DPS, they wouldn't kill it that fast. But I believe that if CLG has 2 people bottom lane or more, and on this sector of the map, and they need to get here, that's a long distance that they cannot traverse before a Baron is finished. And a Baron is finished after. It's not just like a standard Baron. It's a Baron from a Fed team. This is a huge gold difference. This is highly accelerated, meaning the Baron, even though they have low DPS, will be accelerated. So that's another mistake that CLG could make, and another way that Immortals can force the end of the game. So Immortals go ahead and they send 4 people mid to go ahead and get this mid lane tower. I don't know what they're doing. They're either looking to dive, or they're looking to get a catch and then force the fact that they have a man advantage to get the tower for free, rather than them risking a death because of it. Because every aggressive play, every single aggressive. every aggressive play, ever, has a risk. There is no situation. There is a very rare situation where it is zero risk for you to do something. But in a perfect game, everything involves risk. Maybe someone's there, maybe they're not. Maybe they have a ward here, maybe they don't. And there are ways to remove this risk. I mean, pink wards, more vision, sight stones, rotations around the map, staying grouped. There are so many different ways to make sure that you don't succumb to these risk factors, because risk factors can be very deadly and are generally the reason why teams, when they even have gold leads up to 3,000, can still lose, even if the enemy team isn't like a scaling team comp. These risk factors, and them pushing mid is a small risk, because Cho'Gath has flash, Talia has flash, Stixxay has flash, Aphromoo has flash. Everybody's ready to full engage on them, and if they kill one or two of them, and they kill one or two of the carries specifically, they can no longer push on the mid lane tower, and then this gold lead kind of nullifies. And they also get shutdown bonuses if they're gonna kill Jhin. Anybody that they kill that has a kill is going to give them extra gold. But the shutdown bonus 500 gold is very unique to Jhin right now. So CLG is just moving around. They keep sending Stixxay top, and why they keep sending Stixxay top is because they want Stixxay to CS, and they want him to CS freely. He can do that because no one on the enemy team is going to be moving up into the side of the map. No one. So Stixxay goes and gets the farm, and then he waits for the lane to be pushed back into him, and then he goes and gets the farm again. And this is just so that Stixxay can get as powerful as possible, as fast as possible, even though they're behind. And that's what they're doing. And then they keep rotating to mid as well, so that they can keep pressure on this tower that they're eventually going to lose. And they're going to lose it because of previous mistakes. Wait. I'll be up in... Yeah. Interesting. So, this is exactly what I was talking about. Risk. So let's figure out how this happened. So Olay is playing forward. Now notice how Olay is all the way over here. Shen's bottom lane. Shen does not have ultimate. Yeah, Shen's ultimate's like 20 seconds on cooldown right now. So he's playing dangerously because he's far away from his team. Because right now, Huhi is actually closer to him than his team is. And I know you can't see that, but if you look at the map here, you can see that. So it's very weird that Olay is positioning here. It doesn't really make any sense to me. It makes sense that he would want to get wards, and he would want to get aggressive wards, but it wouldn't make sense to me that he does it alone. Because if he does it alone, he gets caught. And why he gets caught is because of this. This is why Cho'Gath is so retarded in top lane right now. This is why Cho'Gath is dumb. Cho'Gath offers... Okay, right now, Cho'Gath's ultimate is 450 true damage, plus 0.6 bonus AP and bonus health. He doesn't have any AP, but it's bonus health. Meaning it's actually coming out to about 600 true damage right now. And if you look at Karma at level 9, she has about 1200 health if you factor in Sightstone, because Sightstone gives you a little bit of health. And she has Eye of the Awakened Watcher. I have no idea which eye she has. I don't even play in English. But she has an eye item, which is a sight stone, which gives her health. So she has about 1200 health. And then she has the shield, which is a 0.6 bonus, 0.6 AP scaling ratio, her shield. And if she has any AP right now, which she does, she has 25, or no, she's 20 plus 25, I think that item gives right now. So she has 45 plus runes, so she might have 60. So she's an extra 40 on top of her shield, which is probably already 200. So she's looking at 240 plus 1200 health, right? So she's got about 1440 health. I'm gonna estimate it like that. And I hope that's okay for me to do that. But ooh, this is extremely aggressive. Paths really far forward. So Darshan realizes this, moves forward, takes out the silence. Ole has to flash, but Ole gets collapsed on by everybody. Why is this really bad for Immortals? Because it nullifies some of this gold lead. It's 300 gold. It's not actually 300 gold. It's a lot more than 300 gold because of all the assist gold. We can look exactly how much it was if we 20. Oh wow, it was like 600 gold. That was 600 gold. That's insane. They made 600 gold off this play. And then Ole is now dead for 30 seconds. Which means they can't get this mid tower for 30 seconds. Oh, and Ole actually died without Darshan ulting. The only ultimate that was burned here was the Talia ult and the Rengar ult. So Stixxay, Afromu, and Darshan, still maintaining their ultimates, can defend this mid lane. Meaning that it's another 30 seconds. Actually, Ole has to walk from base all the way to mid. So they've bought a minute. They bought 60 seconds of time. CLG has further bought 60 seconds of time, which means they're 60 seconds further in the game, which means they're 60 seconds further in gold, which means they're 60 seconds further in items, which means they have a better chance at winning this game. And these are the plays that they need to do in order to further contest. Wait. So I'd like to note that while the one bad aspect of this team comp is that they don't have reliable wave clear. It's really interesting. I already talked about like things that this team comp doesn't have, but like that's something that this team comp doesn't have. They don't have reliable wave clear. Like you have Jarvan Q, like J4Q, but he has to be in melee range to do that. Like he has to be able to Q the whole wave. You have Corki, but he's not exactly long range, meaning it's not safe. And safety is the 100% necessary thing in order for you to successfully perform. To successfully perform. There's no reason for me to pause there. So, because Ole is still dead, we see CLG group up with the ultimates that they do have, and they want to force on this mid lane tower. Shen, backed from bottom lane, is teleporting towards the mid lane tower, but Darshan tanking. CLG really needs this tower. And why I say that is because, hold on. The gold lead is large. It's 4,400. Or no. Yes. No. It's 4,300. Now it's not. Now it's less. But that just happened. Yeah, it's 4,300, which means if they don't get this tower and Immortals gets a tower, Immortals hits that big 5,000, and that's something that we should always keep in mind. That big 5,000 is really what wins games. That's the tipping point. That's the take control. Any team that understands their win condition with a 5,000 gold lead will never lose. Any team with a 3,000 gold lead that understands their win condition perfectly should not lose. Ever. Because only following your win condition is the only thing you obviously need to do to win the game. Anyway, by the way, Jarvan's positioning here was really weird. He wanted to flank. Let me fix that. Let me show you why he was there, because I think that you guys should know why he's there. Jarvan's over here because he wants to flank, which means okay, watch. Jhin ult goes like this. Jarvan ult flanks and goes like this. Actually, I'll use different colors. I'll use different colors to make this easier. We'll make Jhin black. Jin's black. So Jhin ult looks like that. And then we'll use orange for J4. So J4 comes in, he EQs, and he gets Cataclysm. And then Pole Belter is going to be green. He's just going to be doing damage. He's about this long range. He has his W, so he can kite back like that. And then he has his little Q, and he has his ultis. They're going everywhere. And then you have Flame. I'll make Flame blue because he's Shen. Flame just goes in wherever. Flame, it's Shen. It's not interesting. I'm not going to make it interesting. Whereas on this side, we'll make Cho'Gath yellow, or an off yellow, or whatever this is. He's going to be moving forward. He wants to try and get on Cody's Sun. He wants to try and get on Pole Belter. We'll make Gray Stixxay. Stixxay is going to be playing on the sidelines. He wants to stay out of the Jarvan. He wants to be attacking whoever he can, and safely. He wants to stay safe. And then you see Huhi. Huhi, we're going to make a off green. Huhi's going to be doing DPS over time. If you notice that Talia has used Q here and here. Let's go back so I don't mess anything up. But he needs to use Q here. Q here, Q here, Q here. Like, he just needs to move around and constantly do damage, because that's what Talia is. Talia is going to be doing DPS. And you would see a proper fight take place here. Like, this would be a proper fight. The only problem is, I don't know why Immortals would want to defend this tower 4v5. And now I took a dramatic pause on purpose there because it's ridiculous. You have no reason to contest a tower that has less than 200 HP. Like, you have 4v5. You have no reason to contest a tower 4v5 when that tower already has 200 HP. If you were going to do something, you need to have done it already. And I don't recommend doing anything. Like, I don't recommend this because Cody's Sun's half HP. I don't recommend this because Pole Belter doesn't have a full mana bar, or even 2/3 of a mana bar. He's got 1/3. And I know Corki is pretty good with mana, and the Triforce gives you extra mana, but if he runs out of mana in the fight and he needs more mana, that can happen, and that will happen, and he dies because of that, then that was your mistake. That was the mistake in the beginning. Immortals doesn't need to protect this tower. If they were going to protect this tower, Jarvan would have been back here. Jarvan wouldn't be looking to flank. Jarvan wouldn't be looking to engage. Jarvan wouldn't be looking to do anything. Jarvan would be behind the tower. Everybody would be killing the CS, and they would be poking at Stixxay. So let's actually go back a few seconds. So Jarvan would not be here. So this is just for everybody who couldn't imagine what I was saying, so that I can show it to you directly. Jarvan's not here. This is wrong. Jarvan is here. Or Jarvan is here. Because if they dive, Jarvan can jump over Wraith Wall. Jarvan can jump over Wraith Wall and pretend that everything's okay. But he's in vision here. He's dancing. He's telling CLG that he wants to be there. He's telling CLG that he's separated from these guys. Whereas he could be over here queuing from long range, any CS that moves in. But instead he lets himself get jumped on. Then he's not behind the tower to help wave clear, because if he was here and he queued these minions, they would be dead already, and that would be more time that they have to save this tower. This tower would have more health. This would be just focusing on keeping your objective, and that's maybe what Immortals want to do, because they're trying to do that because they have a 4v5. This is just standard gameplay that is not taking place, and it disappoints me. So Xmithy came over here after he got jumped on the first time, went over here again, got jumped on again, and then gets killed. So I want to notice, I want you to people to understand, anybody that watches this video, that Xmithy has made the same mistake twice in a row, and it didn't pay off for Immortals. Like, they tried to save him with the Channel, and they tried to save him, like, so that they could do something about it, but this game could really change now. This game could really change. They don't have Jarvan. They don't have Pobelter to defend this tower, because Pobelter has no mana. Pobelter's, like, useless right now. Cody's Sun's half health, and Karma's back, but, I mean, now that Jarvan's dead, there's no reason for you to change the factor, so they're going to lose this tower. And CLG could do more here. CLG could look for more. Why I'm saying that is because technically right now they're 5v3. And why I'm saying that is because Pobelter has no mana. Therefore, Pobelter has to back. They're 5v3, and they can push onto this tower. Like, they would be annoyed by Karma, they would be annoyed by Shen, but if they're annoyed by Jhin, then they can just kill Jhin, because Jin's half health, and there's no Shen ult. This 5v3, they could either get... I expect that if they forced here, they would get about 50% of this turret's health, which would be worth. I think the only thing that says that they shouldn't do that is if they do this, they have to make sure Talia has enough mana to defend mid while everyone else backs. Because everyone else is going to back after that play. Because CLG just got a lot of gold. So everybody's going to back. And the gold lead is now 3,200. So the gold lead is much easier to deal with. So these small mistakes by Immortals are costing them a lot, and it may cost them the game. Because this Tristana getting fed enough to start being an annoyance, Cho'Gath starting to get to the point where he has 3,000 plus health, and Rengar having enough damage, and Hui having enough damage, Soraka getting redemption. All of these things really impact the game. CLG's scaling is very high. Their scaling in utility is high, their scaling in damage is high. The only thing that it doesn't match is the fact that Jhin is obviously going to be one of the highest damage late game characters, just due to the fact his passive. I'm not going to go into details, even though normally I would. And Corki's late game is very insane. Very, very, very insane. Like almost one-hitting carries with the auto attack, the rapid fire cannon, the static shiv, the Trinity Force, and the Infinity Edge, all giving you enough crit chance. If that first hit crits, you almost one-hit carries. So Immortals really needs to get into shape here. Immortals needs to get this mid lane tower down so they can start focusing on their 1-3-1. And if they don't want to focus on their 1-3-1, they can at least pull a 4-1 with the Corki, because the Corki can stay with the rest of the team and do a 4-1 because Corki's really good at sieging. And that's what they're doing right now. This is the 4-1 that I'm talking about. Shen's even following in, actually. Almost a 5-0. CLG responds. Immortals didn't know where Tristana was, so they backed off. But they're just itching down this mid lane tower, which will revert the gold lead to what it was before all this happened. Before all the mistakes from Immortals happened. But that's just what they're trying to do here. Pobelter procs his Trinity Force. There's the tower. He jumps out. Darshan does not have Righteous Glory right now. There's the Talia ult. 2 flashes from Immortals. Capitalization from CLG. I can't tell if this is just like bad positioning or let's go back. Like, there's obviously bad pathing here, and let's start here. So you know Rengar's ulting, that's a given. You'll see Rengar's ult appear above your head. Let me use a different color just because there's so much blue on the screen right now. There's a lot of white too. Black works. This is a 4-man unit. Shen doesn't have teleport. Shen has ult, but he doesn't have ult for about 15 seconds. Which means they have to peel off as fast as possible for 15 seconds. They want to take the safest pathway. That's what they have to do. And to take the safest pathway, you have to think a little bit geometrically. Because you know the Talia wall is an option. The one thing that they do know, though, is that Shogot does not have Righteous Glory, which means the engage potential from CLG is a lot lower than it would normally be. So let's move a couple frames forward and see what happens. So this is just bad pathing by these two. It doesn't make any sense to me why they wouldn't path this way, because pathing this way allows the team to stay together. And if they knew, which they should have known, CLG was going to try and force something if they saw Shen top. I don't know, like pathing around your enemies is better. Pathing around. Because let's go back. Let's watch exactly. So these two are on a path like this, and they could be on a path like that. And if they're on a path like this, then one of two things can happen. Talia Wall will stop them from going this way, and they'll have to go this way, and they'll have to flash anyway. Or Talia Wall will split in between them. And what that will do is one may have to flash, and the other will not. Or if they flash, or if one doesn't get caught on the Talia Wall, like it just depends. Like it just seems to me that no one will die if you stay grouped, right? No one will die if you're able to help each other. So if these guys path this way, because both of them have flash, and then Talia ult goes here, and they can go through, they can go over the Talia wall ult, because it's going to go about here. That would be a correctly placed Talia ult, because you want to keep them out. Or here, it can't. The Talia wall can't interrupt the Wraith camp. And that probably didn't sound right. What I mean is, the Talia wall needs to properly cut off at red buff over here, whereas you can't leave it open behind red buff, because you want Immortals to take the longest path as they possibly need to. So let's look again. So these guys would be over here right now. Talia might be here, though. This is tough. This is tough for me to figure out. Because there are actually, I don't know if I'm necessarily correct in saying that this is the correct way to go or this is the wrong way to go, but that they're both options and they offer for different styles of gameplay for CLG to capitalize on, and whether or not CLG can capitalize correctly, or whether or not they're just going to continue pathing backwards, and whether or not they're going to continue pathing correctly. What they do know is that Olay is dead, and that's just a fact from the Rengar. And this is patch 7.14. I don't know if this is after the hot fix, but the damage on that item right there is a little bit dumb. You see, they needed to get this mid lane turret. Let's talk about the original mistake, because there was an original mistake here. And the original mistake is it has to do with patience. So let's talk about this. So everybody that has been listening to me will probably say, this is what Immortals is supposed to be doing, right? And why that might be the case is because Shen's right here. My only issue is that Shen now walks top, right? Yeah, Shen goes to walk top. And he does this for this wave, right? There's this huge wave piling up in top lane that Shen really wants. And they know that there's no reason for CLG to not be mid lane. Once Cho'Gath pushes out this wave in the bottom lane, there's no reason, because there's no tower to defend in top lane, and there's no tower to defend in bottom lane, because all your waves are pushed. There's no reason for CLG to not be mid lane. And these four players go mid lane, right? And they go mid lane. And anybody that's been listening to me will probably say, like, hey, it's probably correct for them to go mid lane and finish this tower here. But what the problem is that Shen's ult isn't up yet. That's it. That tiny issue is the reason why all of this crumbled for Immortals. Because had they waited, because a minion wave comes every 30 seconds. Had they waited for the next minion wave to get that tower, they would have waited for the Shen ultimate. The Shen ultimate would be ready. They would be ready to fight. They would be ready to jump on carries. They would be ready to kill Aphromoo. They would be ready to jump on Dardoch. Flame would be ready to ult whoever Dardoch jumps on. Everything would be good for Immortals, and you would expect Immortals to win the fight because they have a 4,000 gold lead, and that's just generally, statistically, true. Statistically and mathematically probable is what I should say. So Immortals being impatient really has caused them a lot of struggling, and it's really tough to say what they need to do right now. What is this? Shen has flash. There it is. He can kill a Stixay there. but he has to hit both of his ultimates. That's the problem. That's an incredibly. I don't think Stixay would allow him to do that because Stixay has flash. So let's talk about what just happened, because I missed a lot of gameplay that led up to this. Okay, so everybody on Immortals except Flame has burned flash. And we've had some aggressive flashes come out from Darshan and Dardoch. And they say that, hey, let's push onto this mid lane tower. Let's get more. This is another problem. So again, when you're behind, you generally have to play reactively. And this is a very proactive decision, and let's think about what they do and do not have. They have Stixay with both sums. They have Afromu with both sums. Huhi doesn't have Ghost, but he has Flash. And they have the Soraka ult, they have the Tristana ult, and they have the Cho'Gath ultimate. So they have every ultimate that's really important for them to be sieging towers. The only problem is that the only person dead is Ole, and Ole is technically the most useless champion on Immortals. And I might get some shit for saying that Karma is like the most useless here. But let's think about it. Karma offers no hard CC unless her W snare stays on someone for longer than a second. So that, and she just offers shields and damage. There's nothing else. There's nothing else she offers, which is why I'm calling her the most useless champion. And like, while you could say, oh no, Corki doesn't offer any CC. Yeah, well, Corki offers like 2 or 3 times the damage that Karma's gonna offer. And Jin's going to do the same thing, and Jin actually even has CC, and these two champions have CC. So all of the combat champions for Immortals are alive, and they're ready to abuse. And I think it was a little bit badly played by CLG. Let's just go back once more. So Darshan moves up on the turret. They shouldn't be looking for a dive here. They should be looking to get this turret, to get turret damage, and nothing else. Because anything else would be aggression. And aggression, when you're behind, is very difficult to pull off successfully. It's a very high-risk situation. And you can see that here. The Soraka ult was burned to keep Huhi alive, because Huhi was half health in the first place. Xmithie jumps out. Cho'Gath tanked like fucking 12 turret shots. Cho'Gath goes down. Shen still has flash. I said this right before he flashed, but I expected it completely, leading to another kill. Jin almost hits his W, but that leads to another kill because it makes Rengar not able to path differently. And again, I said this could be a kill, but it requires Pole Belter to hit both of his next ultimates, and that's difficult. If it's not a kill, Stixay has like 1 HP after that. Like, because the next one he fires is a normal. And then the following one is a so-called big one, XD, as Corki would say. It's the big one. Bit ready for the big one. That could kill 6A. I think both of them know that, but Pillbelter doesn't even try. He just moves on, says, we want Baron. And this is a fine call. Because I talked about how Immortals have a slow Baron and why that's bad to have a slow Baron. But because Dardoch's dead and Huhi's dead and Huhi has no ultimate, The only person who's coming in here is Cho'Gath, and Cho'Gath wasn't even able to make it before the Baron finished. So I can tell you that for a fact that there were some microplay errors by Immortal here. If you want to watch it over and over again, you could look at it. I mean, allowing this double knock-up to happen, allowing the silence to happen. I mean, Pobelter's flash there was weird. I think he stuttered in auto attack. I'm not sure, but everything's fine. Allowing Darshan to live, but this is everything. Everything's fine here. Cause think about it. This is 2 kills. This is 1 kill. This is 300 gold. This is 600 gold. Or I'm sorry, this is a little bit more than 600 gold. It's going to be about 900 gold. So 900 gets passed over to CLG, but about 1800, because remember Baron's about 1500 gold, is getting passed over to Immortals. So let's go ahead and look at the gold lead again. It is now 6,300. And I can tell you for a fact that I do not think that CLG has any chance in this game. I think that the game is over. Darshan tries to get a solo kill on Ole there because he still has his ultimate, which he wasn't able to use at the Baron pit fight there, even though he probably should have. I'm not sure what happened there, but very bad decision here that we're getting a replay of. This was a minute ago. Of the play that led to Baron for Immortals. And that really spells the end of the game, because I don't think there's really anything else interesting to see. CLG grabbed the dragon. Immortals have Baron buffs. Immortals move the siege into mid lane. Shen dies top lane in exchange for mid lane tower. So remember that's 300 gold. The Shen kill, actually, I think he was on a killing spree. So that's 500 gold, but that's the 750 plus the local gold on the tower. So this still went up a little bit, and right now we can see that it's 4,500 to 5,200, which is 7,000. So we know that a lot has happened. We just saw a Jarvan engage. Hold on. What? What is happening right now? Either they thought Pobelter was going to make it to mid lane a lot faster, or they thought Jhin did a lot more damage. They still win the fight anyway, but it's a big mistake. So if we think about that fight, I'm not really interested in the fight. Okay, I'm not interested. Why am I not interested in the fight? I'm interested in the gold lead. How the gold lead changes. It doesn't really change at all. It's 48,000 to 54,300. So because these guys had they had multiple kills on them, which means they're worth more gold. This gold value shifted a little bit. Now it's 6,400 again, or whatever the gold lead was before. But look at this. Look at why is this bad? Shen's dead for 17 seconds. 17 seconds. Like that's not the beginning of a fight. That's not 5 seconds. That's not I can ult the next person who needs it. That's 17 seconds. This Cho'Gath is going to be dead before then, or shortly after then. Who knows? Corki is in bottom lane, teleports like
This is like 2,000 range. Teleport's like 2,000 range to a ward so he can get closer. I guarantee you that like walking would not have been much slower. But at least maybe here he doesn't have to use his W. Because that's 4 whole seconds. And 4 whole seconds at 400 movement speed is 1,600 range. So remember kids, like count, use counting. Like this, it shocks me how many bad fights both of these teams take. Because at this point, I understand that the game should be over. There shouldn't be anything else happening. Because if this was a normal 5v5 fight, this would have been completely Immortals heavy. Like I said, the 7,000 gold lead would have caused Immortals to win the fight purely off stats. There wouldn't have been any kind of mechanical outplay that I could even understand that would prevent Immortals from winning that fight. And they still even went even in the fight. Just from the sheer amount of damage that Pobelter and Cody Sun were able to put off. Cody Sun gets caught by a rupture there. Yeah. The fight ends up even, but like nothing's happening from that. If anything, in Immortals' heads right now, they might be thinking, hey guys, this is stressful. Let's wait for Baron. The only reason I'd be thinking that is because it's very difficult for me to believe that Immortals doesn't actually want to just 5v5 and end the game and force that fight because they have the Jarvan Shen engage and they have the Jhin ult and the Corki. Like it's just something about their play seems off and wrong, and I wish I could communicate with them to figure out what that was. We're gonna go ahead and skip forward in the game. Okay, so Baron's almost up, Dragon's almost up. It's gonna be an Ocean Drake, not going to be too important because there's no other Ocean Drake on the table. We see the 5v5 dance here. This is what we're looking for. This is the 5v5 dance. And let's remember that play. There is a 6,700 gold lead. Like Immortals just have to be ready to engage this fight as fast as possible. They just want to win the game. They don't need to methodically like force CLG into do anything. So hold on. So the Immortals is going to be pushing up into the mid lane here. Immortals is going to be pushing CLG into the jungle. CLG is going to be moving on to Baron. This is interesting to me. This is kind of like the Hail Mary of CLG right now. They're saying, we want you to fight us around Baron, or we'll go ahead and get Baron for free, nullify a lot of the gold lead, and use that Baron in a fight later. And we're willing to exchange our inhibitor for that. And I think that is actually the best option for CLG. I think that if Immortals made the mistake of trading Baron for an inhibitor, CLG would have a lot better chance at winning this game. But I don't think Immortals is that stupid. Lots of damage going out. There's the engage onto Dardoch. Dardoch gets absolutely blown up by Pobelter. There's the flash taunt from Flame. He gets almost taken down. The Soraka ult comes out. Pole Belter's going to be doing damage to the backline, going to get taken down, but he's got Guardian's Angel, so that's fine. Stixay gets taunted by Flame once the taunt comes back up. Darshan's going to be taken down in the backline. And Immortals gets a free fight. And Immortals is going to use this to take Baron, which means the gold lead is going to go to about 10,000, and this game is over. This game is over. So I mean, there's nothing else. There's absolutely nothing else important to see. It looks like Immortals goes bot lane. They get bot lane inhibitor. They go mid lane. They get mid lane inhibitor. And then they force the enemy aim. Absolutely nothing to see here. Very interesting game. I'm actually shocked by the amount of mistakes coming from the top tier teams in North America right now. Because this is a recent game. This is 2 weeks ago. This is week 7. So if these mistakes are going to be really common, these taking a lot of fights that they shouldn't be taking, like NA is not going to fare too well at Worlds. Like they need to fix that fast. So I don't have any more comments on that. But if you watch the whole video, then thank you. Please comment any videos. Comment about anything you want to see. Comment if you want to see any VOD review from any region, any game. I don't mind doing old games. I have been playing League of Legends for a long time, so I know a lot about what the meta was and what the items were at any given time. So comment, like, probably don't subscribe because won't be here for long. But and I'm also doing free coaching this week while I'm still in Chile. So thanks for watching.